Hello, Abigail here with the Tarotscopes for Pisces season. This is for my water signs. We're going to start with the water signs and then go by elements. So water, fire, earth, and then air. But this is the video for the water signs. We will start with Pisces, Cancer, and then Scorpio. All right, my Pisces, this is your reading. It's quite a season. Happy birthday if you are a Pisces sun. If you are a moon or a rising, also welcome, welcome. Or if you have a stellium, because that's also a completely legitimate reason to to seek some energetically specific advice. But this is your reading for Pisces season. The astrology is pretty intense. This is a tarot reading video. If you want to see that, I have linked the Pisces season astrology video below. So check that out. But let's get into what your oracle slash kind of archetype card is. Ooh, the moon. Yes, yes, yes. This is also found within, words, within the tarot as a card. In this deck, it does feel a bit solitary. It makes sense considering that we are going to have a Virgo eclipse during Pisces season and have had right before we enter into Pisces season that Aquarius eclipse. And so there is a lot of energy around the moon. There's also a 28-degree Pisces new moon right at the edge of Pisces season going into the spring equinox. So I would encourage all of you to mark down those astrological points. Recognize that eclipses happen in like a window. So while that Virgo eclipse is the final eclipse of this eclipse season, that entire kind of prior few weeks that we're going to go through is the portal, which is the entrance into here. Also, just going to remind you that Mercury is retrograde in Pisces as well. um, so a lot happening. And I do think the moon cycles and where the moon is really going to help you. So look up where the moon is on the day to day. If you are fluent in your chart, you can look at what house it is transiting in your chart. I find it incredibly helpful when I want to get something done, when I'm wondering why I'm feeling a certain way. Because the moon is the fastest moving body in the sky, it is very helpful for kind of tracking days rather than, longer periods, which that's what we use outer planets for. So this is also a call to really listen to your emotions and feelings. A lot is going to be coming up. A lot of people I do think are going to be maybe showing their ass a little bit, showing who they really are. And I think it's important for you to believe them. The moon reveals when it is full what is hidden. It is often considered a bit of a deceptive archetype, not necessarily as like a vindictive one, but as one who, obscures things. I do think in this season the moon is your friend because the eclipses will be bringing forth certain energies. And so, yes, be cautious, but I think you can kind of avoid any like miscommunication by simply being direct. Will it be hard with the Mercury retrograde? Absolutely. And I would encourage you to take your time when it comes to communication. But most importantly, it is about listening to your feeling, connecting with your body, listening to your physical needs as they are informed by your emotional needs. And let's see, what's your tarot? Ooh, ooh, jumpers. Spicy. So, starting out, big card, Judgment. This is all about past life stuff. There's a lot of big past life themes in this season. I think you're going to be coming to some karmic endings. Not surprising because we are starting a new cycle with the Aquarius cycle, with the eclipses Aquarius and Leo, and finishing, it's a very long finish, it goes into 2027, but finishing out the Virgo Pisces axis. Bright side for you, the nodes go switch signs in July, but it does mean that you're experiencing a lot of karmic energy. You're having to navigate a lot of really present energy in your life that has a very ancient history. And so if something feels larger than life, I would encourage you to kind of follow that thread through and where do I want to go with this? Yeah, investigate. I'm getting from spirit is you need to investigate the patterns in your life, investigate why things keep happening, investigate and be curious about, the dynamics you keep finding yourself in. If there's certain ones that are frustrating or just seem like they're really getting in your way, there's a good chance that this is karmic. And so I would encourage some karmic work this season. We also have the Eight of Wands. And this card always comes out in my practice during eclipses. Stuff is going to be happening lickety split, lightning fast. Not necessarily stuff that you want to have done, not necessarily things that you are actively, pushing into the cosmos, but things are happening to you. The universe is speeding things up. Eclipses are portals into chaos and shifts and timeline changes. So it feels as though, and this is how I describe eclipses, you kind of start at point A and end up at point J, and you're like, well, okay, not the shortcut I asked for or was expecting, but it was a shortcut to somewhere. And so, things are going to start happening quickly. So my encouragement as, we settle into eclipse season is to tend to what you can take care of because of the chaos of this energy. On the bright side, it really genuinely feels like you're getting some stuff that you've long waited for, just in an unexpected way. So keep an eye out for that to come in, because sometimes when something that we want comes in an unexpected way, we aren't quite aware of it. Then we have the Hierophant. Tons to learn here. I also think a lot of my Pisces folks are claiming their power, are kind of stepping out and asking for what they want. Maybe you're being called into being a mentor. Maybe you're being asked to take a leadership position when it comes to education or when it comes to informing people. Now is the time. Step into that. For some of you, it might be becoming a student, but I'm hearing more. If you are becoming a student, it's because that step of becoming a student is going to then put you in a position of education, and not necessarily talking school, just someone who is over people and informs them and has knowledge and power through knowledge. Also might mean that you, depending on where you are in your journey, you might need to go seek out a mentor if you don't know where to go next. Instead of looking for something more academic, maybe seek out a person who has a specialty, who knows the thing better than you do, and who, might still cost something, but it is worth the one-on-one connection and care. And I think you will get these opportunities within eclipse season and moving towards that final Pisces new moon. And last but not least, we do have the Three of Pentacles. This is also a time to build your community and build your practical relationships. And even non-practical relationships, ones that are predicated on romance and family, they all have their practical elements. So seeking support, investing in community care, finding connection, making sure that the people that you're engaging with are invested in the same kind of building that you want to do. Yeah, I'm getting, this is going to be a season where a lot of us are really going to want to burrow away, and I don't think that's a bad idea. But when you do expend energy to do something, I would encourage you to do that when it comes, to put that energy towards group connection, collaboration, sharing ideas, thoughts, that type of thing. But yeah, so lots of big energy, lots of past life energy. You really got to connect to the moon this season. And yeah, claim that power. It's not necessarily the power of the emperor of taking control, but it is the power that knowledge brings. So harness what you know. And, I'm hearing some of you just need to get paid for your knowledge. Start charging for your intelligence and your gifts and your insight into things. It doesn't have to be academic, can be spiritual, you could be an engineer. But that is my reading for Pisces season. Know that it is chaotic, know that it's a lot, but also know that you are being guided by the moon. Hello, my Cancers. This is your Tarotscope for Pisces season. I have linked the Pisces Astrology down below, so you can check that out because there is a lot going on, and this is a tarot video. But let's get into what your archetype oracle has to say about this season for you. Ooh, interesting. We have silence. It does feel as though this experience is going to kind of happen in a vacuum for you. And I do love kind of the Sphinx. It's not a silence because you're being muted. It's a silence because you're biding your time, because you have a plan, a scheme, an idea. Pardon me. A little tickle in my throat. plan, a scheme, an idea, you're also watching and observing what people are doing. I don't suggest so far, quick, forceful action. I really think, we do have to take our time this season. I think the eclipses, and this was very prevalent for Pisces as well, I think the eclipses are going to be pretty revelatory when it comes to people's intentions. And so letting people talk themselves into whatever position they are taking, not interjecting, not guiding them, just hearing people raw and where they're at so that you can make a decision that is best for you, would be my path. I also think it does imply a bit of solitude, or at least a sense of solitude, even in spaces where there are people celebrating and connecting. And I would encourage you um, to sit with that and to process why you feel that way and why that is. I actually feel that way all the time in big groups, or even in like medium groups. I think it's the autism. But I've sat with it and I investigate it, and I ask myself, what is a like acceptable level of discomfort for me? Like, what is just going to be how I am? What is maybe participating a little bit more? And so, sitting with our feelings and listening to what they have to tell us is very important in this season. And I think it's probably the primary message from Spirit to literally a card that Pisces got, a message from Spirit to my water signs. Yeah, and this card that I just pulled always comes out during the eclipses. Yeah, knew you were coming too. Yeah, I've been reading tarot for quite some time, and you can just feel when a certain card is coming. Did I manifest it? Did I, just sense its presence? Who knows? I think both can be true. All right, starting out. So in this deck, they have different names. This is the Eight of Skins. It is the Eight of Wands in a traditional deck. And guess what? This is the card that I always pull with eclipses. Obviously, we have the Tower as the major arcana, but this card almost I do need to refresh it a little bit and go do some extra research on it, because it has become literally to me eclipse. Period. Every time the eclipses come, we get the Eight of Wands, lightning fast, things moving at a speed, shifts and changes very quickly happening to us, transformation, messages from Spirit. All of these things happen with this Eight of Wands. And so, yeah, you are about to be swept up in this energy. You're about to be taken on a journey of passion and of chaos. And I encourage you to take the space and the time that you need in this season, especially considering you got the Silence card. Your second card also implies that we need more space to process. You do have the Ten of Dreams in this deck. It's the dreams are swords, so the Ten of Swords. I do love this card. It's very spoopy. But you need to take time and space to process, to allow yourself to be overwhelmed in order to accept your feelings as they are, and to let your body know what your triggers are, like, and also to tell you about the people you're around. If you're around someone and you're constantly exhausted and overwhelmed and feeling defensive and sad, then maybe this relationship, at least how it is currently functioning, is not functional, and something needs to change. I don't think that change is going to fully happen until we get to like mid to late Pisces season. There is a Pisces new moon along with the Virgo eclipse. That Pisces new moon is at the end of the season. I think that's when stuff's going to pick up. I will also say, because eclipse season is in the beginning of Pisces season for you, very chaotic, very overwhelming, exhaustion, tiredness, feeling kind of thrown about. But as we get towards the end, especially as the sun starts to aspect Jupiter, which is like mid to end, Jupiter's going to station direct during this season. Thank goodness. It's in your sign too, by the way. Things are going to start to feel a bit better. I think specifically once we get that aspect, which I think is going to be at 15 or 16 degrees, once we hit that Jupiter aspect, stuff is going to change for the better, which I'm very excited about. And part of the reason I say that is because we have the Ten of Songs, which is Ten of Cups in a traditional deck. I love the beautiful heart being held in those little blue hands with the shells. Some really out of the chaos, out of the the mire and the toil and the frustration of, the eclipses, I think something really beautiful and magical is going to begin to emerge. And I think my cancers are going to start to feel the full impact of the Jupiter transit, which so far has been a bit exhausting. It has a lot to do with what else is happening in the sky. But I do think you're going to start to see the working of Jupiter pan out for you. I think you're going to start to see shifts and changes that are positive and beneficial to you. And so hold out. Keep your silence till we get to the end. And I think at the very end, you can lift that silence because we do have our King of Skins, which is King of Wands. There is a part of you that is dormant or that is just too tired. And that is very quickly about to, at the end of the season, feel so much more invigorated. This also feels very Aries season, which is our next season, spring equinox. We start a whole new zodiacal year. You are going to feel so much more energized. You're going to feel so much more ready to just face the world and to claim your power. But it is important that you allow the kind of cleansing process to happen at the beginning of Pisces season. And like I said, probably till like right in the middle of the season. Also, just a little note, we do have a Mercury retrograde, which is why I think the silence card is important. Like I said, people are going to be showing you who they are, and this often happens in Mercury retrogrades. Also, don't text your ex back. No, I'm thinking of some specific people here. You can join them. Do not text that ex, whether it's because they have texted you or because you are feeling emotionally vulnerable. Unless you genuinely need something from them, please don't. Release them, allow it to pass away. Not all of us get closure when something ends. And something I've gotten really good at, and it's not easy or fun, but create your own closure. Create your own ability to end things. I do a lot of fire rituals. I do a lot of like processing and writing down on my feelings. Another thing you can do is you can write a letter to them and then burn it, or write a letter to them and then send it to a fake address. Stamp it, send it. It's called return to sender. It's very kind of traditional spell. But yeah, do anything but maybe fall into some toxic habits. And if you do, it's okay. I would just push it as far into Pisces season as you can, just so that you can see how things pan out. All right, my Cancers, you have some really beautiful energy, especially as we head into Aries season, but hang in there for the beginning of Pisces season. Anyways, my loves, have a blessed Pisces season, and I will see you later. Hello, my Scorpios. This is your Tarotscope for Pisces season, your fellow water sign season. There is a video link below for the astrology, and the astrology is a lot, but this is a tarot reading. So check out that video if you're curious. I will sprinkle some astrological stuff because, my cards do often speak in the language of the cosmos. But yeah, eclipse season, Mercury retrograde, the lead up to the spring equinox, lots of fun. Ooh, interesting, my Scorpios. Also kind of reminds me that we do have Mars entering Pisces at the beginning of March, but we have gentleness. There is a need for gentleness in this season, to not push yourself, to not. I know a lot of Martian folks, when the chaos hits, are like, oh, I need to like start being Mars-like. I need to start doing things. Probably not in Pisces season. We should take our time. The eclipses are doing the most, and Mars moves into Pisces right before that final eclipse in Virgo. So it is going to be an intense energy, and I think being gentle with yourself is going to go a lot further than pushing yourself. Also, you are going to be recovering from a eclipse that is square your sun, moon, rising, or a stellium of sorts. So, tenderness is going to grease the wheels of the universe and get you much further. So I know it seems counterintuitive to be gentle, but I do think that gentleness is going to allow you to have the energy that you need. Oops, something popped up on my pen. The energy that you need in order to move forward, to thrive, to learn the lessons. Lessons. Can you tell that I'm Mercury ruled? Lessons of Pisces season. We have so many trying to talk right now. Interest. Okay. Do one more. Okay. What is this first one that is hiding? Okay, I love this. This comes back to our theme of gentleness. We start off with the Page of Cups. You need to be softer. And not as in like don't have boundaries, not as in like don't be yourself, but to allow yourself to be a bit more playful, a bit more silly, a bit more fun, to be emotionally curious. You don't necessarily, you shouldn't necessarily like tear down all of your walls. And I know since you're a Scorpio, you have a couple. But to maybe invite some people in to share something, to be creative. I will say with the Six of Cups, it's more like people that you know very well. It's not like, oh, during eclipse season, let me invite a total stranger who I don't know anything about into my personal space. No. But reconnecting with people that we know very well, drawing on nostalgia, old memories, you know, refilling our cup in a way, being with people who make us feel loved and cared for. Now, do I sense that there might be a little romance? Yes. Romance during eclipse season is very tricky. It's not all of you, it is some of you. Is tricky. So don't push for anything, if that makes sense. Let the universe take the wheel. If something is meant to happen, it will happen. And if it's not meant to happen, it won't happen. Let me just make sure my microphone is on correctly. I do get paranoid because this baby doesn't really give a warning when it dies. I have had some tragic moments. Anyways, ADHD brain off. So this season is about reconnection, is about coming home to the past a little bit. I do sense also with the Six of Cups and the Page of Cups, connecting to maybe some childhood playfulness, to some hobbies you maybe had in the past, maybe doing a little trip down memory lane. And you don't have to like make it your personality, but maybe do an activity you enjoyed as a kid and, have some fun with it. Like I said, we do have the Lovers. It doesn't always have to be romance, but I think for some of you, you are going to meet someone. And we do have the Eight of Pentacles. So this is potentially a longer term partner. But like I said, it's not about forcing this to happen. It's more important that you kind of follow the lead of the universe in this and kind of let things pan out. So like if you meet someone who's really, attractive and you really connect and click, let them message you first. Let the universe create a space where things can happen for you. And now, if you take the lead and do something, I'm not saying don't do that, but make sure that there is an intuitive impetus in this, not just like, oh, hot person, me connect with. Make sure that it is a deep emotional connection and make sure that it feels really good. And also pay attention to red flags because in eclipse season, a fun thing that can happen is that the universe can kind of send us some little testy tests to be like, hey, you said you wanted all of this, but I'm going to offer you kind of almost all of this. I don't think it's mean, and I try to avoid creating this narrative around this pattern that I see that's kind of like Christian, to be honest, where like, oh, God's testing you. I don't know if any of you were raised in it, but it's kind of a big thing, is God being a sneaky little hoe. But when you see red flags, to accept them as red flags. When something isn't quite right, to be like, you know what, that isn't quite everything I've asked for, and so I'm going to wait a little bit longer. And I think if you wait that little bit longer, you will get everything that you want a lot faster. We do finally have our Eight of Pentacles. There's some kind of culminative experience through this eclipse that you're building on, either a knowledge or a skill set. This isn't the season to like, for most of my Scorpios, to abandon a project and like completely do something new. This is about building on past ideas. This is about very much with the Six of Cups as well. There's like a through line. It's not like we enter eclipse season, there's a new passion, a new desire, a new dream. This season is about kind of just aligning that desire and that dream a little bit more with what functionally works for you and your progression as a soul. And so you have a really interesting journey of kind of like loosening up a little bit, connecting with others. If the Lovers card doesn't represent, romance, I do think we're looking at friendships and family. I will say the kind of flip side of the Lovers is that you might also recognize where you are not compatible with someone. And I will tell you this with eclipse energy, if you ignore that, several weeks to a month after the eclipse, it'll be gone anyways. So listen to what the universe is telling you, listen to your intuition. If something isn't right, it's not right. But yeah, that's my reading. Be gentle, and I will see you in a different space and time.